Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Thought Leaders. I'm your host, Chris Shang, and today we have Gil, who is the CEO of Sembly AI. Thank you so much for joining us, Gil.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. Tell us a little bit about Sembly AI before you kind of get into your story.
My story is really Sembly's story, but no, of course, Sembly AI is in a field that I've defined independently because it's really everything is so new that it's hard to classify things. So today, Sembly is in the space of augmented worker intelligence, and that those three words mean a lot. They mean that the worker is in the driver's seat and that the intelligence that AI brings to the table is being utilized by the worker in order to create amazing breakthrough results. Some have said up to 7,500 times more than what a worker individually can do. So, I mean, just the numbers are unbelievable. But my message to anybody who doesn't believe is that they should start believing now if they haven't done things up to now, because change is happening so quickly that I'll explain a little bit more, but the urgency is here. So that's
Yeah,
if there's one message that people should internalize today, it's that the speed of change is here. And if you don't believe it, you're way behind. And you need to start taking actions in order to shorten the distance to change in your organization. And of course, we work with working teams and we attend meetings. And we have we have 4 different technologies to help workers. I'll just go through them really quickly because it's interesting. I think it links into a lot of the conversation that we could have today about working teams and improving productivity and strategy and IT, all these different dimensions, they come together. But the technology that we have allows you to basically be an avatar on the user's shoulder, on the working team member's shoulder.
hmm
That's what we do. And by having an avatar, there are a whole slew of advantages that workers gain, especially across multiple platforms, conference platforms, because we have not seen a company yet that only uses one conference platform. Even if you're using Microsoft Teams as your core product, your customer may have Zoom or Google or WebEx. So, this cross-platform capability is really important. The second dimension is something where we are releasing a new product in Q3 of this year, which is called work streams. And this is tying conceptual activities in meetings, across multiple meetings, into something we call a work stream. It could be an initiative, it could be a project, it could be a work stream. It could be around a customer, for example. That could be everything related to a customer. So this idea of being able to group information in work streams is a capability that we have, and we're releasing new capabilities around this very soon. The third dimension is Keymaker. Keymaker is the ability to give Chris and Gil their hyper-personalized next step actions from meetings. So no more like one set of summaries from a meeting, but from now on, you're actually going to get your next steps that are contextually significant to your world. Why? Because we are that avatar on your shoulder, and we're learning when you're learning. We're not disrupting your day. We're not requiring you to bring us mounds of information or documents or data in order to give a good response. We're just there. Because we're there, we're giving you that great information. And the fourth technology that we have is we call AI Associate, is a Gen AI capability that a lot of people have, but we get in. So when you get your next step actions from Keymaker, you can actually say, you know what, do it for me. And the way it does it for you is contextually sensitive to you. So you don't have to teach it again. You don't have to tell it what to do. It'll give you documents that are 80% there. And that's kind of what Sembly is all about. and we're pushing forward. We're differentiating in the marketplace because the technology that we have, we're using for augmented worker intelligence.
Got it. And what kind of companies are you guys working with, uh, or which parts of the companies, which departments are you seeing the highest adoption from?
So we are ubiquitous across horizontals, across
Mhm.
verticals. We're a company that we could start with any group in the company. That's the truth. But we definitely have an affinity to operations group and sales groups. And so there are three dimensions to this space. The first dimension is efficiency. So we're about saving money, and everybody's interested in saving money, all the departments. And the way you save money is that the consistency of the note taking, the high quality note taking, is actually better than human consistency, and it's really really good. So you're saving time from just taking the notes. The second dimension is because you rely on the summaries and the information that's coming out of these meetings, you actually you don't have to go to meetings where you're not a principal in the meeting. So we're reducing the size of meetings and the time and the number of people attending those meetings, but also the time required to spend in the meeting, because you have less people that are actually communicating in the meeting. But we're actually increasing communication and collaboration because more people are able to get the summaries and communicate between them on the information that was presented. And there's very little fear of missing out from the meeting. And the third dimension, and that's kind of efficiencies. The effectiveness part is Sembly has the largest number of downstream integrations in the industry. And that's where magic happens a lot of time. What's the magic? The magic is that I go into a meeting today. I'll give you just an example of one integration. I use Microsoft To-Dos, and Microsoft To-Dos are populated because I connected lists in Microsoft To-Dos with calendar entries. So I go into the meeting, I communicate, we have a great meeting, and for the next meeting that happens, I don't have to do much. Don't have a lot of prep. I go in and I look at my list in Microsoft To Do. And because we're able to curate actions in a really good way and tasks in a really good way, I just go through the tasks. I either prioritize or I depreciate. So prioritize, depreciate, just go one, and I don't forget. Not forgetting is a big deal. And the third dimension is business alignment. And business alignment is something I've been working on for many years, and sold technology related to that to Microsoft a long time ago in the project management space. But it's a passion, and today's tools are much much more focused and able to support business alignment than in the past. In the past it was a lot of brute force, and it was optimization functions, etc. But today I think the capabilities are so much stronger that it's a whole different topic to talk about. Anyhow, but those three dimensions are really important. And so this idea that we're a platform, like a fabric of an ecosystem of applications where you can move information into a CRM system really easily, or into Notion, or into Slack, or into Azure, or into SharePoint, anywhere you want, and have that information available.
Got it. Um, Interesting. So before we kind of dive a little bit more deeper around that, you mentioned as you're starting to describe what Sembly is, that it's kind of a culmination of your life's work to a certain degree. And so can you walk us through what got kind of going through your background? It seems like you've been out doing an entrepreneurial endeavor for quite a while, and you started off doing things like on a very more like founder basis, and so sold a few technologies, things like that. So very seasoned in that sense and regard. What got you interested in going down that route of like starting your own thing? And it seems like you did it fairly early on, versus like spending a lot of time in corporate or or how did you get the idea? How did you find the passion for you to take that risk to do it?
It's a great question. I think about it often myself in terms of uh, uh, steps that you take determine many times where you'll end up. So yeah, every decision that you make impacts your life path, etc. So it was erroneous actually in my case. In my case, um, I started out, I finished my undergraduate, and I left the Twin Towers, I remember, with a suit and tie, white shirt, tie, and I felt I was leaving with 1,000 other people out of the Twin Towers where the subway station was in downtown Manhattan. And I felt like that's it, I'm good. I was going to work. I started working for Chase Manhattan, and I was really excited, etc. Um, so I started corporate, and about 2 to 3 years, and Chase, I started doing my MBA actually. They paid for a certain percentage of the cost, which was
Mhm.
very attractive to me. So I stayed there for a few years, but along came an opportunity where it was an erroneous opportunity. I thought it was a really good opportunity with a baked-in capability to support a company in the space that I was in, which was um, organization change, project management, operations management. And I convinced my co-founder colleague that this was a great opportunity. And we jointly left in order to create a small company to support this effort. And later it was found that this entity that we thought was a target for us was not. But as we started the enterprise, the company, we found other customers. And so my step into entrepreneurship was, yes, I didn't mind entrepreneurship. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I think the most attractive feature of entrepreneurship to me was the independence, but I didn't understand the full ramifications of being an entrepreneur and carrying that independence initially. It took time to sink in, but the first step into the company was actually around a thought that really didn't happen, but we managed to survive that issue and go on to support many other customers. So it was a good experience overall. But I
Got
like that, I like this image somebody showed on LinkedIn where, your path of success is like failure, failure, failure. And as you're moving forward, I love that picture because I think it's true. I think there is a lot of steps in the way that you think would work out and they don't work out. And the only difference between people that continue or don't is if they give up on trying to move forward. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very common, I think, like theme for a lot of entrepreneurs. And how would you describe what those early years were like, where the dealing with the failures, the toll that that takes? How long did it take you for you to start seeing some semblance of things, figuring out the things that were actually working for you, and maybe starting with that first company?
Yesterday I saw Pierre Lemon from the PMI, the Institute, and he on a video that he said his grandfather told him how important hard work is for success. And yeah, I'm a believer in that. I think that um, you see, when you confront an issue, you have to be totally dedicated towards what you're focused on, and you have to continuously resolve issues as you're moving forward. So I never saw the issue as an obstacle. It was more of something to deal with. And, how do you move to the next step? And how do you move to the next step? And at some point over time, you wake up and you say, oh, wow, this is moving forward. And that's great. But every day brings challenges and issues. So I think, hard work, obviously opportunity. So recognizing opportunity is a big deal. So sometimes people are faced with opportunity and they don't see it. And so knowing when you're facing an opportunity is really important. And I think
Yeah.
that's another dimension. But yeah, hard work and um, persistence is a huge part of success.
Yeah. Do you have any, I mean, do you recall any specific, incidences around that? Yeah, the reason what I'm trying to allude to is I think like, when I think most people, know that it's going to require hard work. I think then there is the reality of being in the thick of it. And when you're actually in the thick of it, like it can be, it's rough, right? And it's rough and it's different for each individual that's going through it. Just as somebody who works with a lot of like early stage founders and startups, and you see it. I mean, you see the drain on mental health, sometimes physical health. People at different stages, sometimes they're much further along. Some people have been doing it for 7 years and still haven't found market fit. And so I'm curious for you, what was that? Was there a moment where you're like, okay, I'm doing a lot of the hard work, I'm showing up every day, but I'm not seeing the results that I would like to see? And then obviously, now you have the accessibility of hindsight, but in the moment where you felt maybe, I don't know if I'm doing the right stuff. I don't know if this is going to go, if it's getting to the place, if it doesn't feel like it's showing the ROI for what I'm putting into it. And then when was there a moment when that was actually felt like you were, oh, now we're starting to see it. Now we're starting to get a little bit of that traction where I get why we spent the last 4 years or however long that might have been doing what we had to do to get to this thing. Um, would love to.
You're describing Sembly's journey really, because
Yeah.
we really we have a very deep capability. For example, I described to you the ability to join meetings. That's not a trivial exercise. Just having an agent technology able to join cross-platform all the meetings, running 70, 80,000 meetings now that we do on a monthly basis successfully. That's not a trivial technology. So, but what you described initially is getting to product market fit, and we initially had capabilities that were, I think, very strong, but I think the market itself, the technology itself, wasn't there yet. So we felt we were at the top. The transcription engines at the time were competing at a word error rate. They were getting to, let's say, 86, 87%. And it wasn't just enough for transcription. It was just, there were too many errors initially when we started. So that was kind of one component of it. But by the time we were moving, we built our own engine, our own transcription engine. And I think by the time that we started our whole progress, so we started in working in 19. We started selling, which I can tell you about, in October of 22. Think about that, 3 years of deep diving. And in a year, we got to 1 million ARR. And the next 6 months, we did 1.5 ARR. So we're growing at a pace now. But until that point, I had to, for example, one thing, just as an example, was the trial period for the product. It was very difficult for me. I told the team, listen, in September, I told them, we're starting to market the product and sell it. It's either now or we don't sell the product. If the product is not good enough for our customers to pay money, then we shouldn't exist. It's a harsh statement, but it's true. And I shortened the trial period from 30 days to 7 days.
Hmm.
And everybody was telling me, everyone, "Oh, it's not enough to try the product. You need more time. I said, no, if you can't understand the value that we're producing in 7 days, forget it. And yeah, in September, we shifted to 7 days, and the rest is history. And we started selling and growing and moving forward. But it's just one example. There are many examples like that, where you have to hone the company in a direction that it's clear to employees, to customers, you need it, you want to have this, it's going to cost money, and it's a valuable addition to your environment. So, yeah.
Yeah. Um, I'd love to kind of dive a little bit deeper on that. So when you went from, did you guys offer, when you went to market, did you offer a longer free trial, or was it you started off at 7 days? And I guess my question is, did you have to go through any iterative cycles on the go-to-market to get to a place where you're able to charge in a shorter period, or was that a hypothesis that just ended up working out?
No, so we were giving 30-day trials. So imagine selling to a customer and not knowing if they were going to be in a real customer for 30 days. That
Yeah,
doesn't make sense, even for teams, etc. Doesn't make sense. Now, in a large enterprise deployment, that's a different thing. We sell to small companies, medium-sized companies, SMBs, and large companies. So for an enterprise, it's a negotiation process, and it does take more time, especially if the company is larger, there are more organization units involved. That is a longer type of play even today. But we believe in an immersive experience. So if you're a large company and you want 3 months to try 10 employees, that's not going to happen with Sembly, because we don't feel we know what a successful deployment will be today. And the successful deployment is around immersive experiences and workspaces and multiple workspaces within organizations and management of those multiple workspaces. Don't forget, today the value is in really multiple places. The value is at the micro level. It's, I'm going into a meeting, information is going to my to-dos, or information is going to my HubSpot or my Salesforce or somewhere else, and it's done automatically. Great value. But there's also, and the summaries and everything else, but there's also value in a macro sense, which means there's cross silo information coming at you, and you're able to get more information. So I think there's multiple dimensions today that you can think of in that way.
yeah. Couple of questions around that. There's, in your space, there's definitely competitors that may or may not be directly, doing the same thing as you guys, right? I think like, and so my question is, some of these differentiators that you've mentioned, right? So the ability to kind of go multi-platform, automate uh, the whatever the dilution of the information in whatever shape or form into different um, integrations, as kind of like these differentiators. How much of that do you feel like the market is asking for it versus how much you have to educate the market around those capabilities as like key differentiators from the rest of the space? And and
Yeah.
how important is it to people to have
It's
that?
it's a great point. So we have so Gartner doesn't have yet a space. It's got a few. We're actually on the Gartner in a relationship with Gartner, but they don't have a specific space today. And it's a very interesting question, because the foundational element, which is meeting results and transcripts and summaries, can be used for various reasons.
Yep.
And I think Sembly, for the first time now, is showing its strengths because the founders, me and my co-founder, are from corporate. And we've built technologies, we've done major transformation efforts in corporate, and we understand the corporate environment. So I think that, yeah, so I think there was a period where it could have been confusing if you called us note takers, all of us note takers, because there's some truth in note taker,
Yeah.
of course. But I think that there's differentiation now that puts into play the background and the knowledge that we have into a very focused offering, which is related to productivity, to strategic alignment, to capabilities that are going to enhance the workforce so dramatically that it's a differentiating factor today. So yes, some can offer different types of social aspects related to meetings or other things, but that's like polishing the apple. What we're doing is we're fundamentally changing the space that we're in by calling it augmented worker intelligence, and we're heading in a direction that's giving corporations a major competitive advantage over others. So an employee using our keymaker will definitely do better than an employee that doesn't use keymaker. That's kind of a guiding principle that because why? Because one, we're giving them what are the ideal next steps for them. And two, with AI Associate, we're giving them also documents and deliverables that are 80% there. So, we're giving major advantages to working teams. So yeah, so I think that the space is still evolving, and I think that there's a lot more coming down the path. Yeah, and I think that education, yes, it is important, but one key principle is that there are two things actually that are really important. One is, if you think of if you're evaluating an AI to implement in your company, what do you think about? For me, it's a three-legged stool. Think of it that way. So each leg has to be in place to support a successful implementation. What do I mean? The first one is the degree of organization change that's required in order to implement the technology. And that's a big one, especially for larger corporations. I mean, every significant change is huge. It's disruptive. It's difficult. The second dimension is the feature set. What does the AI bring to the table? What are we going to utilize? And the third dimension is, how do we get the data? Because everybody that uses ChatGPT knows that the quality of the answer depends on the quality of the data. You give it a good set of data, it'll give you a great answer. So how do you overcome this? So how does Sembly overcome this? So from our perspective, what I said to you before, with the avatar on your shoulder being there, we're just there. We're not asking you to submit documents to Sembly. We're not changing your workflow. We're actually, our key word today in the company is workflow, because we're building different workflow for specific verticals, like in construction space or even in fintech, for reviewing meetings with customers in a much more focused way and a quick way. So we're giving real value in different work streams, and that's a breakthrough capability that's coming now. And yeah, so
Interesting. I know we're kind of up on time, but I have a question around this. You alluded to it already, but the quality of the AI results is dependent upon the quality of the data, right? And I think about a lot of these companies, like Gong, for example, has been recording sales conversations for a long period of time, and they use that data to analyze. And I hear mixed results. Like they're able to quantify things very great, right? Like very strongly. But in terms of like actionable or yielding the desired outcomes, I have not seen a lot of those that are, super relevant, that can create those things yet that makes sense. So I'm just wondering that, how much of like AI do you feel like is contingent upon the ability to read through some of those human interactions that are not verbalized necessarily, but like the contextual elements of conversation, right? Because reading between the lines, like those are things that I have yet to see AI pick up on, but is so critical for it to be accurate to a certain degree, right? Like, and I think about sales conversations, because I feel, especially around sales conversations, it's like those are, there's a lot of pleasantries involved, and there's a lot of like dancing involved in those conversations that may or may not be wholly authentic.
Okay. Do you know the story of Go in 2015?
No.
Lisa Dahl. Okay, Lisa, do I have time for that?
Yeah,
We
yeah,
have
yeah.
time for that?
Let's do
Okay,
it.
so Lisa Dahl was the Go master of the world. And in 2015, when he was asked about the ability of AI, this is just related to the speed of change as well. He wasn't sure that an AI could beat humans. And then 2016, Google beat him. The first time, there were 280 million people, mostly in Asia, watching that game, and tears about his loss. So, and then a year after that, Google Zero was introduced, and it was untrained by humans, and it beat the Google model that beat Lisa Dahl consistently. So this idea that some of our competitors have, that you can algorithmically tell people what to do in the right way if you measure things, I think that's out the window. That's old technology. I think today what we're coming out with is the contextually relevant, because we're there, technology that will win. Because we really don't need much more. So we'll be in a sales conversation and we'll make assessments on, there was hesitation on the customer side regarding a specific topic. So you need to send them this document related to what's this. It might overcome their inhibitions related to this purchase. For example, definitely things that were not mentioned in the conversation. Our technology has been developing, this new technology has been developing since last year. We think it'll be industry-changing, game-changing technology related to contextual information for working teams and workers, individual workers. And the ability, marrying that with Gen AI of producing the deliverables, is going to be very, very exciting.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, because it's not just about the text. It's not just about transcript, right? Analyzing text, because it's like that's
No,
probably 30% of the information, and it's being able to read between the lines of the contextual information from how somebody's delivering it, tonality, and then even down to visual cues, right? So body language and things like that, which obviously we're starting to see some of those things pick up on the visual part. Um, Interesting. I mean, how it seems like you guys are definitely thinking about it from that 360 view, to be able to take that data set and then analyze it appropriately as part of what the output is. How far away do you think we are from that being commercially available, where a lot of those technologies are going to be reading onto the more contextual side? Um,
I can
yeah.
tell you that we're coming out with technology in Q3,
Okay.
and that's how quickly things are developing. And we're very excited about it. We're in beta, and the results are, I would say, jaw-dropping for me. You look at the results and you're saying, wow, this is unbelievable. And so Q3, Sembly AI is coming out with new features and capabilities that are going to be game-changing. Yeah,
Very cool.
very exciting about it.
Awesome. On that note, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time today and taking a deep dive around what you guys are building around just conversational AI and how that's actually you guys are creating a different category around that. Um, very, very insightful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me today.
Of course.